Unknown parties breached the Kyonoke pit security cordon earlier this month, according to General Varanori Rukin of the State Peacekeepers. This represents the fourth known attempt to breach the security cordon, and the only attempted breach that escaped immediate notice by the Caldari Navy. Analysts now believe that the Kyonoke outbreaks currently contained in Oyainen, Postoven, Efu and Mutakon are a terrorist bioweapon attack using the sample retrieved during this breach.
Meanwhile, the situation remains grim but stable in the quarantine zones. The Chief Executive Panel has declared a state of emergency in the city of Midgar on Oyainen 2, after xenovirologists working within the city confirmed that the outbreak was Kyonoke, with state peacekeepers and home guard troops instituting martial law to attempt to save as many of the 36 million inhabitants as possible. Legion of Death, the current owner of Capsuleer infrastructure over Oyainen 2, has temporarily halted the export of planetary commodities in support of the quarantine regime.
Subsequently, the epidemics on board space installations in Postoven, Efu and Mutakon were all confirmed as outbreaks of the Kyonoke Plague. Containment in all of these cases remains intact, with Society Elder Mentor Matsu Reish personally overseeing the quarantine, research and treatment operation aboard the Genelution station.
Discovered after an outbreak aboard the Kyonoke Pit asteroid mining colony in YC-98, the Kyonoke Plague is possibly the most contagious and deadly disease known to New Eden. With limited information available to the public about the first outbreak and subsequent research, the pathogen has attained almost mythical status as the perfect killer, frequently appearing in conspiracy theories and horror stories. We go now to Sidra Lovelace of the Eve's-Exploratory Society to tell us what is actually known about the pathogen.
Kyonoke is a difficult disease to deal with, and I'll admit that it is our worst case scenario for an outbreak. The pathogen in its dormant state is surprisingly hardy and long-lived, not unlike certain bacteria with an endospore or viruses with capsid. While many diseases may be defeated by exposure to ultraviolet light, desiccation, or conventional extremes of temperature, this does not appear to be the case with Kyonoke. Even standard biohazard gear seems somehow inefficient to prevent infection. It also appears that dormant Kyonoke is capable of replicating at a slow rate, with the infection taking months to progress fully in the host. Kyonoke will usually begin to replicate quite quickly once in a suitable host, killing that host within hours. This is, from an epidemiological standpoint, actually ideal. A host who is quickly incapacitated is unable to spread the disease as far, significantly reducing the rate of reproduction in the population. Unfortunately, this strain of Kyonoke appears to progress more slowly, even in its active form. However, this does not mean that this variant of the pathogen is magical. It is simply an incredibly well-evolved pathogen whose size and conformation makes it ideal for infecting humans. The pathogen initially enters the host through the respiratory system, where it passes into the blood. Resembling proteins in a similar way to a prion, Kyonoke then passes through the blood-brain barrier to settle on the medulla oblongata, where it replicates rapidly, resulting in the failure of autonomic functions and the death of the host. Currently, we do not have a treatment for Kyonoke. The best course of action is for those in areas near quarantine zones to stockpile supplies for an extended period of isolation, and for station administrators to ensure that all possible safeguards for partitioning populations and effecting the quarantine are up to the standards described in Xenobiotech's latest pamphlet. If you are in a quarantine zone and believe you have been exposed or have recognizable symptoms, please isolate yourself. Do not attempt to travel. Notify your local quarantine authority and await the arrival of a biohazard team. If full body aches become severe pain, or you begin to develop pox, your isolation may very well save lives.
Scientists in Taizé and Oyainen are now working around the clock to understand this new strain of the disease. For now, the spread of the disease appears to be under control, but for the tens of millions trapped inside the quarantine zones, time is running out. This is Elinari Roden
and Cerulean Voth
in Taizé, reporting for the Discourse.